Core Keeper. From the outside, I thought it looked like any other survival game. I immediately drew associations to games like Minecraft, Starbound, Don't Starve, and Terraria. I wanted to see if it had anything special to offer, so I decided to play for about 2 hours. I figured surely that was enough to decide if a game was worth playing. World and character creation was pretty similar to the other games. There was a background feature that I completely skipped over. I put a couple other of the options on the screen. These options just let you boost certain stats right when you begin. After character creation, I was pleasantly surprised by a short cutscene. It seems like this is explaining the background for the story of the game. We are an explorer, part of a group, making our way through the forest. We start feeling a strange presence, and it looks like we see something that might be the core. Our entire group feels drawn to the core, so we decide it's a good idea to touch it. With our horrible survival instincts, we decide to touch the core, and we're met with a blinding light, which brings us to the start of the game. Loading into the starting location, you see the core again, but it doesn't seem like we're in the same spot. I guess this is where we start. The beginning of the game is like a lot of other survival games, except you are greeted with a story right from the beginning. When you approach the core, you notice that it's powered down. Seems like we're going to have to activate it. One of the first things I noticed when running around the game and checking my inventory is how similar the UI was to Stardew, which I'm a fan of. It's very simple and easy to use. You're able to build a couple starting items like a pickaxe, a shovel, a workbench, and a chest straight from the inventory. The core is surrounded by a couple of shrines, and it seems like these are going to be used to activate it in the future. After longer than I care to admit, I realized that I need to dig out of the starting area, and there's no special puzzle that I need to solve. I ran into some copper, kept on mining, and found a little starting area. I didn't get too far away from the core before I decided to build my first base. I was going to do some crafting here. Crafting at first glance does seem a lot like other survival games, but I think this will get pretty in-depth as we go on. You use the furnace to smelt ore into bars like copper, iron, and tin. You can use these bars to build better tools like an iron pickaxe or an iron shovel. You can also use these materials to build other items like the cooking pot. The pot allows you to cook together any 2 food items and grants you a new one. This new item typically grants your character more health and gives certain bonuses. I've seen things like extra mining damage for 10 minutes and healing your character every second for a certain amount of seconds. My first combat experience in this game was against 2 mushrooms. One large, one small. I was happy to see that they both had special mechanics. The large changed form into a rock whenever he charged, but then once he was stunned, he was back to being a regular mushroom. I wanted to point out a gear mechanic in this game that allows you to have 3 separate loadouts. 1, 2, and 3 are all separate, and this lets you have a melee loadout, a magic loadout, and a range loadout that you can take with you at all times and not go back to a bank. It wasn't long after my first combat that I ran into my first boss. There was a huge red blob that jumped around, and honestly I shouldn't have been there. I died pretty quickly without doing much damage. Then I decided I would try again, assuming that I had learned so much, but I died and did less damage. Luckily, dying in this game isn't horribly unforgiving. It seems like you lose everything in your inventory except for that first bar of your loadout. After playing the game for a little while, gaining a better loadout, I decided to go attack Lurch again. At this point, I had a tome where I could summon a bat, I had a better weapon, and I had better gear. It was close, but I did win this time. After his explosive death animation, we were met with a little man that would do some trading with us. Nothing too great at this point, but it did introduce us to some type of currency that's in this game. There was also a big chest with 2 interesting items. There's one magic staff and something called Glurch's Eye. Just beneath Gurch was the first waypoint that I ran into in the game. I didn't know these were here, so I was pretty excited to know that there was going to be fast traveling. I don't know if these are always around bosses or if I just got lucky, but I guess time will tell. Heading back to the starting location through the waypoint system, I decided to use Glurch's Eye and Glurch's Shrine, which activated it. It seemed like this activated the core as well, or at least 1/3 of it. This also unlocked 3 creatable items, the most interesting being the Slime Sword. On top of combat and exploration, there's also traditional fishing and farming. The fishing is quite simple within the first couple of hours of the game, no need for bait. There doesn't appear to be any skill involved since there's no reeling mechanic. There's livestock scattered around the world that you can name and feed. When fully fed, they start producing. I'm sure there's some mechanics where you can start farming these and get materials that way. I never got that far. I'll say that farming seems pretty traditional. You till up some dirt, plant your seeds, water them a couple times, and then you get your harvest. After wrapping up my second hour of gameplay, I can confidently say that I recommend this game. The combat, crafting, and survival aspects themselves are enough to recommend it. To me, the mysterious story is what truly makes this game stand out amongst similar titles. Well, if you made it this far, please like and subscribe for more reviews.